So you've already dipped your toe into that AI water, and
no pun intended for floating solar. Nice.
Okay.
I like the water.
Yeah, right. Boy, that was a good lead-in, wasn't it? Welcome back to Emphasis Tech Talks, the podcast for business leaders leveraging cutting-edge technology to raise their bottom lines. I'm your host, David Clausen of Emphasis Tech. Our guest today is Stetson Tchividjian, Managing Director of D3Energy. Today we're going to talk about the value of hiring the right people with the willingness to adapt with changing technology. And be sure to stay tuned to the end because Stetson's going to tell us about AI and marketing. Be sure to like and subscribe to make sure you get notified of future videos as they're released. Thank you, Stetson, for joining us. Appreciate you being on. Let's just jump right into it. So you have a highly performant team. You guys have been very successful in bringing some new technology to the world, so to speak. So tell me a little bit about how do you recruit and how do you keep highly technical and motivated folks?
Yeah, David, thank you for having me. Yeah, great question. I mean, I think that's critical to building a team, no matter what business you're in, what sector you're in, and so on. I think it starts with kind of on the front end, getting the right people on the bus, right? And kind of being able to really be able to kind of decipher, who's going to be a fit from a kind of company culture standpoint, but then also really being able to kind of plug in like the missing pieces that you have to really make that complete team. I'm a big sports guy, so I always like the sports analogies, but you need different positions for every team. And so I think that really fits well in business as well. You can't just have all personality guys and no technical guys, and you can't have everybody be purely technical and engineers and no personality. You've got to be able to kind of find the blend, both from a business perspective and really to be able to bring a top quality product to the table.
Sure. Yeah, couldn't agree more. So what has been, I mean, obviously you use a lot of technology in your business there. You might speak to us maybe about some implementation or maybe some migration that was very challenging and maybe how you overcame that.
Yeah. So a little bit of background on D3Energy. We're very unique in the renewable energy space because we focus on something very, very niche, which is floating solar. And I would venture to say most of your audience has never heard of floating solar. So as I'm saying that, people are going, what in the heck are you talking about, Stetson? And so essentially what floating solar is the idea of just like the same solar panels that you see on a roof or that you would see in the ground, we deploy them on bodies of water. And so you essentially really kind of take this, a retention pond, a water treatment plant, some of these large bodies of water that you have that you really can't do anything else with, and create a dual purpose for that with a floating solar energy on top of it. And so to your question about, what challenges have we had to overcome, we were talking about this way back when, even people in the industry hadn't heard of floating solar. And so I remember, going back 9-10 years ago, a lot of people giving me crazy looks and funny faces as I was talking about putting solar panels on water. And so there was like this education.
Does sound a little bit like a shocking idea. Just telling you electricity and water together,
Exactly. It's like, we learned at a very young age not to mix those things, right? So
yeah, right.
Yeah. So, but it's definitely kind of been that market evolution that you would see in any type of industry, where it was a lot of education on the front end, helping people understand the benefits of floating solar. Where would you use an application like that? And then, it was little baby pilot projects here, and then a little bit of a larger project. And so we've really been kind of a force in the industry and kind of bringing this technology to the industry. We've built the most floating solar arrays in the country, really all over the country for everything from, local government and municipalities to electric utilities to, large scale commercial customers. But there was definitely a challenge over the last 10 years of getting to that point, like you referenced, and kind of just that market adoption.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing there is a theme that we've heard across a couple of these shows from different folks about taking that stepped approach. So you have to take those baby steps, and you just have to kind of work into it. Um, that sounds like kind of what you had to do, and what other folks have seen success with. So we get that here. And while I'm thinking about it, so to the audience, this is some great information that we're getting. Make sure that you go out and like and subscribe so that you can be sure to be notified of future videos as they come up. And at the end of the video, listen, because at the end of it, Stetson's going to give you some contact information where you can learn more about this floating solar. So, with that said, what has been, maybe pick one or two of the more successful implementations you've had about technology, maybe migrating from one back end app to the other, CRM, marketing, whatever comes to mind that you could say, yeah, that was a real win, and here's why we think that was very successful.
Yeah, so I would say, there's kind of two sides of our business. We have the business development side and sales and, kind of getting new projects into the pipeline. We also have on kind of the back end of our business, a lot of our construction and contractor kind of services and making sure that we stay organized while we're building these projects. So I would say for us, especially during our early stages where we were growing and going from doing one or two projects at a time to doing multiple projects at a time, there was a very critical kind of period there where we really needed to be more organized, and that became more and more evident, whether it was taking deliveries on time and being able to ship material, or having the right subcontractors on site at the right time. There was just a lot of different things going on, and so we were able to kind of streamline that with a couple different technologies, one being Contractor Foreman, which we use online quite a bit. It's like kind of a cloud-based construction platform. And that really was a critical piece for us to be able to kind of keep all of our ducks in a row as these projects multiplied.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good. So communication and being able to and having visibility, right? I mean, that's what I found in the data field is so much of it's about visibility. So your data will become higher quality, and people will have more intuitive ideas about the data if they have visibility to it. And the more people that have visibility, the better for the most part. And so, that kind of rings true with what we've seen in other environments as well.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking to your visibility point, I think, from an executive level, as we're running this company, it's very critical for us to be able to know what's going on in the field. Just from an aspect of being able to relay that to our customers and helping them understand how projects are progressing, to understanding if there's any issues out in the field and being able to deal with them immediately. And so, having some of those platforms, I mean, even for us, we've found very critical in our construction sites to have live, cameras and time lapse videos and things that we can check in on the progress of a site, be able to see the solar array being built. So that visibility, I would concur, is just a big part of being able to manage and operate these projects, at a time.
Right, right. So, speaking of data, tell us a little bit about what the data landscape looks like in your environment. Are you using uh, any kind of external data sources without giving away any trade secrets, kind of thing? And then, um, are, are you getting a lot of IoT kind of data out of your solar panels? And just kind of walk us through kind of your data environment.
Yeah. So for us, data, I guess I can kind of fall into two big buckets. One would be a lot of data that we're getting on kind of lead generation, who to reach out to. For us specifically, because we're so niche in that kind of world of floating solar, like I explained earlier, there's, very obvious customers that make sense for us, right? I mentioned our water utilities, water treatment plants, like those are some. So for us to be able to have that streamlined data, to be able to reach out to the people that we feel like our application would work best for, is a very critical piece. Then on the back end, as these projects are then, operating and producing energy day in and day out, I think that's where data is just absolutely critical for us, right? I mean, all of our systems can produce kind of live data for us in terms of what it's producing all the way down to the inverter level. So we can get all the way down to seeing, from a panel by panel basis, seeing, how much power are we producing? And then we can quickly in live be able to notice, hey, oh, wait, this inverter's down. We need to get out to this site to get it operational again, because, essentially that energy is money. And so every minute that system is down, the customer is losing money. And so that's a big part of our operations, especially kind of on our service division. Once our projects are built, is this ability to be able to kind of consume that data live and then be able to react and be able to kind of, rectify any issues with a system.
So are you supporting that through the cloud, or using the cloud backend to support that movement of data?
Yeah, so it depends site by site. Some of our more, we did one for the Department of Defense at a military base where there was, they didn't want anything like that, so it was hardwired into their site. I would say most of our projects are going to have some type of cloud-based monitoring, right? And all of them kind of major manufacturers, give you options to add an app on your phone. So you can literally pull it up on your phone, be able to kind of log into the cloud and, be able to see all of that data really in the palm of your hand.
So do you have like a nationwide footprint, or is it pretty much focused on a region? Okay, so nationwide.
Nationwide, we've also done a couple projects international, but definitely the United States is our real focus.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So I know that telemetry data can be somewhat tricky sometimes. Have you had any issues, data quality kind of issues that you've had to go in and resolve, or for the most part, do you see your data as being fairly clean from the get-go?
That's a good question. I would probably say our data is probably pretty clean from the get-go. We're not, because we're kind of more fall on like a construction side, we're not getting too in the weeds in some of that data that some of your other listeners probably deal with. But it's still a critical piece for us. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, good. So you're kind of plugging everything in, and you're making sure that it all works, but the actual feeding of that data and how that happens and so forth, that's kind of built into the products that you're using, right?
Yeah. So that's all integrated into the products that we source and part of, I guess, the package that comes with kind of the PV system, right? So we're being able to kind of just have that visibility of the data, but we're not necessarily involved in creating it kind of per se.
Okay. No, that's good. So let's talk, you talked about the CRM, and you talked about some of the marketing data and so forth. Are you able to find that in a one-stop shop kind of solution, or are you having to integrate in different pieces of that data to get a full picture when you're trying to market out, right?
I say for the most part, it's integrated from, a kind of a wide variety of different sources. I think, we've found, especially in this new age of AI and a lot of that we've been able to kind of take, especially from a lead generation standpoint, some of the things that we had to manually do 10 years ago are now automated. And so it's really helped us just from a reach out and a touch standpoint, being able to really, get in front of more people more often. So, I think that would be kind of the biggest difference I've seen over the last couple of years from kind of the early years of our company.
Yeah. So you've already dipped your toe into that AI water. And
you're unintended for floating solar. Nice.
Okay.
I like the water.
Yeah, right. Boy, that was a good lead in, wasn't it? So, so on that AI front, so was it something where you did a walk, a crawl, walk, run kind of thing, or did you just dive in both feet at one time?
Probably combination of the two. We were able to bring on some kind of key staff to our team that was much more versed on that stuff than I am for sure. And they were able to kind of integrate it into our existing kind of lead generation approach, and has really helped not only from more reach outs and being able to generate more appointments and kind of things like that, but then also from a follow-up standpoint, I think being a really critical piece, right, of being able to kind of continually reach out to people, either after you've already made contact or to kind of get that initial appointment.
Yeah. So was that is that something you continue to evolve on, or was it a once and done kind of thing?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely still evolving. Absolutely.
Right. Okay. That's so that's one of the things that I think a lot of business leaders. It's not like they don't know it, but that's a hard pill to swallow. That you're going to go spend all this money and you're going to go implement something like AI or some other solution for that matter. They're all very similar in this respect, in that you really need to plan in or build into your plan the idea that it's going to be an iterative thing, even if you don't plan it that way. I mean, it's going to be. So something's going to come up. You're going to find out something's working, something's not. Maybe tweaking here or there will improve on things. So, but it's good, in my opinion, that you made that leap, that you went ahead, stepped off into that, and you were willing to try new things. So that's how you get a jump above your competitors. And that's what our audience is looking for. Is how do you get a jump above the competitors? So just a shout out to the folks listening. So if you have questions about this or any of the solutions and how you can move forward in implementing it in a safe kind of way, where you can do that crawl, walk, run solution, or as Stetson and his team did, do a little bit of a plunge, but do it in a safe way, maybe with a life jacket. Who knows? Uh, Make sure the electricity is turned off the solar panels. Anyway, give us a shout. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn and be happy to visit with you about that. Uh, we help folks make those kind of moves all the time, so happy to do that. So Stinson, what do you see going forward? So you're using AI today for your marketing. Uh, what do you see coming down the road? What are you keeping an eye on for the future? Not only about AI, but technology in general, and how you're going to use that to improve the footprint of your company.
Yeah, I mean, our technology realm is probably a little bit different than some of your listeners here, because we are very much in touch with kind of the new technologies coming out in the solar industry. A big one that comes to mind for us is battery storage. Battery storage is continually evolving. The technology, the costs are coming down, and so there is absolutely this massive kind of like adoption of not only having solar, but then also including battery storage with it. So I think for us, when you ask me about technology, what really comes to mind is that we always have to keep evolving as a company. And really what we were doing 5 years ago is very different maybe than what we're doing now. And I think just never being complacent there, always being willing to learn, having that kind of like attitude towards kind of learning new things, I think is such a key part of any business, but it's, like especially for a business like solar that's just so rapidly evolving and growing, it's been a critical piece for our growth.
So do you have how do you encourage your staff to be on board with that change mentality? I mean, that's a hard thing for people, right? To be able to take on new challenges and move forward, and even being okay with that constant state of change. I mean, that's a big thing for a lot of folks. Is there anything that you're doing to help them along in that way and make sure that they're coming along with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes to what I referenced earlier, kind of when we started this podcast, was I think it's getting the right team members on the team. Getting people that do have that willingness to learn and kind of that thirst to learn. I think is a really critical piece. And then I think when you're able to help them see the benefits of understanding it, right? Something like AI or something on totally different realm of saying battery storage, when they start to understand the benefits of how this could, help make a project more efficient for the customer, how it could produce more energy, how it could, create more savings for the customer and a larger ticket item for us, helping them understand those benefits, I think is a really, really key point to kind of making that, learning fun as well.
Right. Yeah, that's really good advice, and that's what we do a lot of as well, is trying to make sure that it's fun and that it's engaging. The technology's moving so fast that you have to stay on top of it. I know when I speak to youth and sometimes at different schools and institutions and whatnot, I tell them the same thing. I said, you need to, if you're going to come into IT, you need to really like what you're doing in school, because you're going to do that for the rest of your career. And that is learning, right? I mean, you're going to have to constantly be on that cycle of learning new stuff every day. Okay, so what else is there? Is there something else that we've not talked about yet, Stetson, that you're chomping at the bit to tell us about?
I would say, just for business leaders out there, I think we've kind of gone through this full evolution of like early stage where there's just, 2-3 people on the team and, having to push out a product that no one's heard of, and just the grind of that day in and day out, and doubting your business idea, on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, to then, finally kind of breaking through and starting to really see fruits of that labor and the growth and just how satisfying that is. And it's funny, I have this saying that it's, if you knew you were ultimately going to be successful, how much more would you enjoy the journey to get there? Right. Yeah. And so it's hard to enjoy that journey and that grind during it, because you do have those doubts creep into your mind, and it's like, what am I doing? Is this a bad idea? Is this going to work? Whatever those thoughts are. But then as you do finally kind of break through and have that success, you're able to look back on that journey and really appreciate it that much more. So that's something I think that, any business leader, it's always good for them to hear, is, to keep kind of banging down on that door until it breaks open. And a lot of times, it's all about just being the last one standing and being able to survive some of those challenges and tribulations, and kind of getting to that point of kind of having that market dominance. And so that's kind of what we've seen in kind of this world of floating solar, is that now we've been able to establish ourselves as kind of a name brand in that very niche space of the PV world. And as that kind of market of floating solar has grown globally, D3's really kind of reap some of those benefits. So I think just that patience and kind of that fortitude is just a huge aspect of being able to grow any type of business.
Right. So that's great advice. Appreciate you sharing that. There's a lot of stories out there about, perseverance, and just knowing that, first of all, I would add to what you've said, in that just know that it's not always going to be smooth, and it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. If it was always smooth and easy, well, then, everybody would be doing it. Right. So if you're going to go try and pioneer something, I mean, most people like yourself and people that are growing businesses today, they're all looking for how can they be unique. So if you're going to do something unique, you're going to pioneer something new. There's going to be some challenges involved. So just know that that's going to come. Persevere through. Most of the time, just persevering through is the way to win, right? That's the way to win. So awesome. Well, I can't think of a better note to wrap this up with. So Stetson, why don't you tell us how can the audience stay in touch with you and watch what D3 Energy is doing and keep track of that? Maybe even learn more about floating solar. So I learned a new term today, floating solar.
Yeah. So reach out on, you can always reach out on our website. It's d3energy.com. I'm on LinkedIn. Good luck trying to figure out my last name. It's kind of a crazy one, but there's not too many Stetsons out there, so it's a little easier to find.
Yeah, we'll have a link in the description below, so that'll help.
There we go. That will definitely help. Yeah. So, well, thank you guys so much for having me. It's a pleasure to, be a part of this podcast. You guys are doing awesome things, and thanks for kind of spotlighting us.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for saying that. Appreciate having you. To the audience out there, take care until we see you next time.